Greetings! I am Herbert Erpaderp, and today I am going to assemble this rather cool looking fellow. His name is Hans, and he likes to shoot things. As you may be able to tell by looking at the front of the box, Hans is a model for Malifaux made by Wyrd Miniatures. The front of the box also has an image of Hans chilling with his gun, as you do. On the back of the box there is a digital rendering of the model and not much else at all. I read somewhere that they do this rather than having pictures of painted examples so that people wouldn't be influenced to paint the models exactly the same as the box art and instead come up with their own ideas. No idea how true that is, but I thought it was interesting and I certainly do like to see people come up with their own cool paint schemes. Inside the box we find this simple single sprue. It's very clean and neat. All the parts needed to make one Hans are there. There's not much in the way of mould lines, but they are there and they will need to be cleaned up. Not a very difficult task. No instructions were included, though I think this kit will be straightforward enough to put together without them, maybe just using the back of the box as a reference. I did quickly Google to see if I could find a set of instructions. They do exist. I will post a link to them in the description below. Also included is this card, which gives you all kinds of information on Hans, like his cost, specs, abilities, attack, and tactical actions. I'm not entirely sure if this card is current or not. It also conveniently lets us know that this model goes on a 30mm base, one of which is included. There it is, one very exciting 30mm lipped base. Glorious. Let's begin building Hans. I'm going to see how I do using only the information supplied in the box. That is to say, not much. It looks as though it's going to be a fairly simple build. I decided that it might be a good idea to drill the hole for the brass support rod now. Of course, be careful to drill the hole centered on the ankle so the bit doesn't come up out of his boot or leg. I'm uncertain as to how I'm going to base this model, and it might be that simply gluing its feet directly to whatever base is enough. I like to use brass rod anyway, and adding it now, rather than after the model is built or painted, seemed like a good idea. Once the hole is drilled, it's just a simple matter of applying a small amount of super glue to the end of the brass rod and inserting the rod into the hole. You may find it helpful to use small pliers to grip the brass rod to help force it into the hole. Clean up any excess glue and then trim the rod down to a more reasonable length. This rod can be good for holding the model while painting as well as securing it to a base. I then glued the two leg parts together, both along the join in his coat and where his legs meet. It does go together pretty easily, though there is no keying to help align these parts correctly. The next step helped to make sure things were all lined up right. I glued the, what I guess I would call mid-torso section to the leg part. This is keyed so that you can't put his upper body on backwards unless you really want to. The part fits into place very easily. I quite like that the joint between the upper and lower body is hidden by the belt for his coat. Unfortunately, there was a bit of a gap above the belt on the model's left side. Next, the two halves of the shoulder part of his coat can be glued together. I don't know what you would call that, some kind of weird short cape? I tried holding the parts together for a while to reduce the gaps. Whatever it is, it can then be glued onto the top of the torso part. The parts are shaped in such a way that it won't go on backwards. I'm not really a big fan of this shoulder thing part. I think they probably could have cast it as one piece and avoided the gaps. The one on the left isn't too bad, but it's pretty obvious on the right side. Let's give Hans some arms. We'll start with his right arm holding his rifle. I figured the best way to do this would be to attach the arm part to the gun and then glue that assembly to the body, so that's what I did. It went together very easily. With no instructions, this gun arm might potentially confuse a novice builder, but I'm sure most people will be able to figure it out quickly and with no issues. I think it looks pretty good. There's next to no gap there and the joint is well concealed by the cuff of the coat. The gun itself looks really cool too. Now we can glue the left arm into place. This was really easy. The recess for the arm is shaped so that you can only really put it in the right way, which is always good. I quite like the way he's holding that bullet. It's kind of menacing. And now to attach the right arm and rifle combo. I test fit the part and then carefully applied glue on the shoulder where the rifle makes contact, and then I carefully slot it into place. It's really simple and I think it looks really great. I can't help but think it's missing something though. Some kind of device with vision receptors and a brain. Let's give Hans a head. Hans's head is made up of two pieces, which I thought was kind of interesting and a bit unusual. It's pretty easy to glue these two parts together, but definitely test fit first. I had to clean up some small mold lines to get a good fit. It is a little bit more work than the average wargaming model head. You have to be sure that the face part sits all the way back in the hair part, and you have to have it centered, but it does make for a good looking hairline with some nice depth. Not bad at all. Now, we can finally give Hans his head. It just slots right into place in the usual location atop the neck. There we have it, one completed Hans for Malifaux, ready to blow people's heads off and look like a badass while he does it. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this model has turned out. The gaps on the shoulder parts still bug me a little bit, but they could certainly be worse. The gun slung over his shoulder not only looks cool, but it also helps to hide that gap a little bit, which is good. I think this is a really cool looking model, and it was quick and easy to assemble, even without any instructions. If you have a basic understanding of human anatomy, or you can look at the pictures on the box, you should have no problem at all building this model. I did have to ponder about the rifle and arm holding it momentarily, but it wasn't a challenge really. The mould lines in this kit are definitely present as always, but they were minimal and didn't take much effort to remove. All the parts fit together very well and nothing was missing. My bits box is a little bit sad that there are no leftover or alternate parts, but I can't complain too much. All up, it took me about 25 minutes to put Hans together, keeping in mind that I'm pretty easily distracted and was fiddling with a camera and making notes as I worked. So far, I have enjoyed all the Malifaux models I've built. I haven't yet put together any of the older metal models, though I do have a couple laying around. I think things like mechanical spiders for the arcanists. They do seem pretty cool. Let me know if you would like to see me try some Malifaux metal. I'm also really keen to build more of their plastics. I've not painted any Malifaux models yet, though I'm thinking maybe I should. Eventually, one day, I might even have an entire crew. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see a video about painting Hans, or maybe Willy the Demolitionist. If you would like to see me assemble Willy, a link to that video will be in the description, as well as on the end card of this video. As always, I hope you found this video to be helpful or interesting. If so, I would really appreciate it if you shared it with all your friends, enemies, and maybe even complete strangers. Anyone that would also find it interesting or useful. Into Malifaux? Never heard of it? I would love to see any comments, questions, or suggestions you might have in the comments section below. If you really enjoy the videos I make, you can support me over at Patreon. It would be greatly appreciated, and I promise not to spend the money on hookers and blow. Unless you really want me to, I guess. Check the links in the description, do all the YouTubey things like liking and sharing, eat your vegetables, drink your beer, and thanks for watching. Farewell.